Give yourself 6 months to change everything. Most people underestimate what can be transformed in 6 months. They think meaningful change requires years, perhaps decades. They believe their lives are too tangled, their habits too entrenched, their circumstances too heavy to shift in any noticeable way. But the truth, as the Stoics understood it, is that the greatest transformations often begin with a short, focused period of disciplined effort. 6 months of intentional living can feel like a lifetime's difference when every day is used wisely. The challenge is not time, it is direction and commitment. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." 6 months is enough time to take this advice seriously, but it begins with clarity. You cannot change everything if you do not know what everything means for you. For one person, it might mean building a healthy body. For another, it might mean finding peace in their mind. For someone else, it could mean rebuilding their finances or reshaping their career. Without a clear definition, you will simply wander. The Stoics were practical. They knew that progress demands focus. The first month is about awakening. It is the moment you stop living on autopilot and start paying attention to your choices. This means being brutally honest with yourself. Where are you wasting time? What habits are feeding your weakness instead of your strength? Marcus Aurelius wrote daily in his meditations, not because he enjoyed self-criticism, but because self-examination was the foundation of growth. The first 30 days are about observation, seeing your life as it truly is without excuses. It may feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is the soil of transformation. The second month is about replacing weakness with strength. Once you have identified your destructive habits, you begin to replace them with constructive ones. If your mornings are lost to distraction, you reclaim them for exercise, reading, or focused work. If your evenings are numbed with mindless entertainment, you redirect them toward learning or reflection. Change is not just about removal, it is about replacement. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does your mind. If you remove a habit without replacing it, old patterns will creep back. The third month is about building momentum. By now, some of your new habits will feel slightly easier, but this is where most people quit. They mistake early results for the finish line. The Stoics knew better. Seneca wrote that nothing worthwhile is created overnight, and that true stability comes from repetition. This month is about pushing through resistance and deepening your commitment. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start asking, "Is this who I have chosen to be?" The question changes everything. The fourth month is about testing yourself. Just as muscles grow through resistance, your character grows through challenges. Seek out situations that demand patience, resilience, and courage. This might mean speaking up in a situation where you would normally stay silent. It might mean taking on a project that intimidates you. It might mean enduring a period of discomfort without complaint. The Stoics often practiced voluntary hardship, fasting exposure to cold physical labor because they knew comfort makes the mind soft. By choosing hardship, you train your mind to remain steady when life becomes difficult. The fifth month is about refinement. By this stage, your life is already changing, but refinement is what turns progress into mastery. You begin to notice the small inefficiencies in your routines, the hidden ways you still give in to weakness. Maybe you have improved your health, but still neglect your relationships. Maybe you have grown in discipline, but still waste time on trivial arguments. Refinement is about alignment, ensuring your habits, actions, and values are working together toward the life you envision. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The sixth month is about consolidation and vision. Here you look back on the past half year and see the ground you have covered. More importantly, you set your eyes on the horizon. The habits you have built must now become part of your identity. You no longer think of yourself as someone trying to be disciplined, you are disciplined. You no longer try to be healthy, you are healthy. The Stoics did not seek temporary bursts of improvement. They sought to embody virtues for life. 6 months is not the end. It is the foundation for the next 6 and the 6 after that. So why 6 months? Because it is short enough to feel urgent, yet long enough to produce undeniable results. It forces you to think in terms of immediate action while giving your efforts time to bear fruit. It strips away the illusion that change is something you will start someday and replaces it with a deadline. Imagine if you truly committed, if for 6 months you aligned your daily actions with your highest values, resisted distractions, and focused relentlessly on becoming your best self. You would be unrecognizable to the person you are today. The Stoics believed in the power of the present moment, but they also understood the cumulative power of those moments when lived well. 6 months is simply a collection of days, and each day is an opportunity to live according to reason, virtue, and purpose. The question is not whether you have enough time, the question is whether you will use it. If you have listened this far, it is likely because something inside you knows you are capable of more. The life you want will not arrive by accident. It must be built one choice at a time. 6 months from now, you will arrive at a new chapter in your life, regardless of what you do today. The only question is whether you will be proud of the person you have become when you get there. The clock has already started. Make today the first day of your 6-month transformation. If you have listened this far, chances are you are, like me, no longer willing to live a life that just drifts by. Take a moment to reflect on the last 3 decisions you have made. Did they move you forward or hold you back? Answer this question in the comments below. No one else can answer it for you, and your future begins the moment you decide to act, even if it is just a small step. If you found this video helpful and meaningful, please consider sharing it. You never know, it might just change someone's life who really needs it. And remember to subscribe to the channel to receive the latest notifications. 6 months is a short time in the eyes of eternity, yet for a human life, it can be a revolution. The Stoics often reflected on the brevity of life, but they did not use that as an excuse for passivity. Instead, they used it as fuel for urgency. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. If you knew you only had 6 months left to live, would you still spend them scrolling endlessly, complaining about things you cannot control, or delaying your dreams until a better time? Or would you strip your life down to what truly matters and give yourself completely to it? The first obstacle to such transformation is not external. It is the resistance inside you. Your mind will whisper that 6 months is not enough, that real change takes years, that you are too far gone. But the truth is, you have already spent far longer than 6 months repeating patterns that hold you back. The difference now is that you are choosing a concentrated, deliberate, and purposeful effort. Epictetus would say that the external world may not bend to your will, but your inner world is entirely yours to shape. And when you shape it, the outer world often follows. This journey requires a mindset shift in how you view time. Many people treat months as casual stretches to be filled however they feel. The Stoic approach is different. Each month becomes a campaign, each week a mission, each day a battle in which you decide whether you will advance or retreat. Imagine treating every single day with the seriousness of a soldier preparing for a decisive battle, not in a way that makes you anxious, but in a way that fills you with purpose. The small victories accumulate, and before you realize it, 6 months have reshaped your identity. Let us explore the inner architecture of such a transformation. It begins with discipline, but not the shallow kind that is sustained only by motivation. Motivation burns bright for a moment, but discipline burns steadily for years. Seneca compared it to a steady flame protected from the wind. It does not flicker wildly, but keeps its warmth. In your 6-month journey, discipline is the wall that protects your progress from the storms of mood, fatigue, and temptation. Without it, Your effort will crumble at the first sign of difficulty. But discipline alone is not enough. You must also cultivate clarity of purpose. It is not enough to simply work hard if you are working on the wrong things. Many people exhaust themselves in the wrong direction and wonder why they feel unfulfilled. The Stoics insisted that action must be guided by reason and virtue. Ask yourself daily, does this action align with the person I want to become? Does it move me toward my ultimate aim? If the answer is no, it does not matter how efficient or energetic you are still wasting your life. Another essential element in this 6-month transformation is the ability to embrace discomfort. Every real change involves a breaking away from the familiar. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to welcome challenges as the raw material from which greatness is shaped. He saw obstacles not as interruptions, but as the path itself. This is where many people fail. They expect change to feel comfortable, and when it does not, they assume they are doing something wrong. The truth is, discomfort is the signal that you are growing. If the process feels too easy, you are likely not challenging yourself enough. The Stoics also understood the importance of mental rehearsal. Just as an athlete visualizes victory, you can visualize the person you are becoming. Epictetus advised his students to premeditate challenges so they would not be caught off guard. You can take the same approach. Imagine the temptations you will face, the days when you will not want to follow through, the moments when quitting will seem attractive. By rehearsing these moments in your mind, you strip them of their power. When they arrive, you will recognize them as old, familiar opponents and know exactly how to respond. In practical terms, your 6-month transformation will demand structure. Do not rely on vague intentions like, I will work on myself or I will try to be better. Break your time into concrete commitments. Each month should have a clear theme or focus. Each week should have measurable targets. Each day should have non-negotiable actions that align with your goals. The Stoics were methodical. They did not leave their growth to chance. They built daily rituals, reflective practices, and intentional habits that became the backbone of their lives. However, there is a danger in becoming obsessed with perfection. 6 months of transformation does not mean 6 months without mistakes. The Stoics did not expect flawless behavior. They expected resilience. If you stumble, the work is to stand back up quickly without self-pity, without dramatizing the failure. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, when you have been compelled by circumstances to be disturbed, return at once to yourself and do not stay out of tune longer than you must. In other words, your speed of recovery matters more than your avoidance of failure. A powerful technique in this process is to measure backward, not forward. Many people quit because they look ahead and see how far they still have to go. But if you look back each month and compare yourself to where you started, the progress becomes undeniable. This backward measurement fuels momentum. You begin to see proof that your efforts are working, and that proof becomes motivation to keep going. Now, some will argue that 6 months is too short to truly change everything, but the Stoics would challenge that belief. They would say that you can change the trajectory of your life in an instant, because change begins with a decision. 6 months is simply the arena in which you prove to yourself that the decision was real. The habits you form, the mindsets you adopt, the self-control you cultivate, these will ripple out into the years beyond. The point is not to finish after 6 months, but to never return to the person you were before. If you embrace this with full seriousness, the transformation will extend beyond just your habits. It will touch your relationships, your sense of meaning, your inner peace. People around you will notice. They may ask what changed. They may not understand that it was not some miracle event, but the quiet daily work of aligning your life with your highest values. The Stoics believed that virtue was magnetic. When you live in alignment with it, you inspire others without even trying. So here is the invitation. Start your 6-month journey today. Do not wait for Monday, the first of the month, or the beginning of a new year. Every day you delay is a day you cannot get back. Remember, time is not something you can store. It is spent the moment it is given to you. Spend the next 6 months as if your life depended on it, because in a very real sense, it does. If you have listened this far, chances are you are ready for more than small talk about self-improvement. You are ready to test yourself. Ask yourself this: if you gave the next 6 months your full attention and discipline, what could be possible, and what will it cost you to stay exactly as you are? That is the decision before you. Make it with courage. If you found this meaningful, share it with someone who might need it. You never know, their next 6 months might start with this conversation. And if you wish to continue receiving lessons like this, subscribe so that you are reminded of the path you have chosen to walk. When you commit to 6 months of transformation, you are making a quiet but powerful declaration. I will not live the next half year the way I lived the last. That single decision changes your posture toward life. It wakes you up in the morning with a sense of urgency. It forces you to weigh every choice against a vision of the person you want to become. And it demands something the Stoics valued above all else: self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the essence of the 6-month challenge. The purpose is not to control everything around you, but to gain command over yourself, so that whatever happens outside cannot break you inside. If you can do that for half a year with discipline and clarity, you will carry that ability for life. The mind as the battlefield. Your first and most important arena is the mind. Every external change begins as an internal decision. The Stoics trained their minds daily, not just with philosophy, but with practice, testing themselves in thought before testing themselves in action. 6 months is long enough to rewire your thought patterns if you are intentional. You must first identify the patterns that keep you stuck. Catastrophizing, imagining the worst possible outcome before it even happens. Procrastination, avoiding action out of fear or discomfort. Comparison, measuring your worth against others instead of your own values. Self-doubt, questioning your ability before you even try. Each of these mental habits is like a vine that wraps around a tree, slowly choking its growth. The Stoics didn't try to cut them all at once. They replaced them with better ones. When you catch yourself catastrophizing, you pause and ask, what evidence do I have for this fear? When you feel procrastination creeping in, you remember Epictetus's teaching. First decide who you want to be, then do what you must do. The discipline of daily practice. Half a year may sound like a long stretch, but it is nothing more than a collection of days. The Stoics lived with the awareness that each day could be their last, which made them fiercely protective of their time. They would tell you that the transformation you seek is not hidden in grand events, but in the tiny, seemingly insignificant actions you repeat. If you want to change everything, you must master the art of showing up. Not once in a while, not only when you feel inspired, but every day. Inspiration is fleeting. Commitment is enduring. Build morning rituals that set the tone for your day. Begin with silence. Give yourself space to think before the world intrudes. Move your body. Strength of mind is strengthened by strength of body. Feed your mind. Read something that challenges you, not just entertains you. Set your intention. Decide in advance how you will face challenges today. At night, close the day with reflection. Ask yourself, what did I do well? Where did I fall short? How will I adjust tomorrow? Marcus Aurelius did this in his meditations. His journal was not a public work, but a private audit of his soul. Voluntary discomfort and strength. One of the most powerful Stoic practices for transformation is voluntary discomfort, deliberately choosing challenges so that you are prepared when life forces them upon you. Seneca would occasionally sleep on the floor, eat coarse food, and wear simple clothing to remind himself that comfort is a luxury, not a necessity. In your 6 months, seek opportunities to push yourself. Take cold showers to train your body and mind to accept discomfort. Choose to walk when you could drive. Fast from pleasures you normally indulge in: sugar, entertainment, idle gossip. The purpose is not self-punishment. It is to prove to yourself that you can endure and still thrive. When you no longer fear discomfort, you gain a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken. Guarding against drift. 6 months is long enough to make progress, but also long enough to lose focus. The Stoics knew the danger of drifting through life. Marcus warned himself daily against being busy but not effective. To avoid drift, you must revisit your goals weekly. Are your actions still aligned with your values? Are you slipping into old habits without noticing? Even the most disciplined minds wander. The difference is that disciplined people notice quickly and correct course. Why this works. The reason a 6-month transformation is so powerful is that it compresses your focus. You are not promising to change forever. You are promising to give yourself a period of absolute commitment. This makes the goal less abstract and more urgent. If you take this seriously, you will experience 3 phases. Excitement. The first month feels fresh and energizing. Progress is visible and motivation is high. Resistance. By the 3rd month, the newness wears off. Life throws obstacles. Temptation whispers. This is the breaking point for most. Integration. Around months 5 and 6, your habits become identity. You no longer think about trying to do the work, you simply do it. The Stoic outcome. 6 months from now, the goal is not perfection, it is transformation. Not just in your results, but in who you are becoming. You may not have changed everything, but you will have changed the one thing that matters most: the way you approach life. When you master your mind, your time, and your habits for half a year, you create momentum that carries into the years ahead. The Stoics didn't pursue change for the sake of novelty. They pursued it for the sake of virtue, living as the best version of themselves regardless of circumstance. 6 months is enough time to become unrecognizable to your former self, but only if you start, and only if you refuse to stop. If you have stayed with me until now, ask yourself, what could I endure for 6 months, and what could I build if I did not quit? The answer to that question is the starting point for your transformation. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it. Their next 6 months might begin today because of you. There is something almost magical about setting a clear time frame for change. 6 months is short enough to feel urgent, yet long enough to allow deep transformation. But here is the truth. Most people avoid change. Does not happen because of the calendar. It happens because of what you do every single day within that calendar. If you commit to 6 months of focused action but drift through your days without intention, the clock will run out and nothing will have changed. The Stoics understood that the foundation of any change is not motivation but discipline. Motivation is like a spark. It may ignite quickly, but it fades just as fast. Discipline is the steady flame that keeps burning even when the wind of doubt and fatigue blows hard. Epictetus put it plainly: first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That sentence is not just a reminder, it is a contract. It says, I decide who I will become, and I will align my actions to match that vision. The 6-month frame as a contract with yourself. When you set a 6-month challenge, think of it not as a loose intention, but as a sacred agreement with yourself. You are promising to show up every day whether you feel like it or not. You are promising to confront the parts of you that you have avoided, the laziness, the fear, the endless excuses. 6 months is not about dabbling in change, it is about immersing yourself in it. One of the most powerful ways to hold yourself to this contract is through a daily non-negotiable. Pick one action that will move you closer to your goal and commit to doing it every single day, no matter what. It might be writing for 1 hour, exercising for 45 minutes, or studying a new skill for 30 minutes. The size of the action matters less than the consistency. Consistency is what rewires your mind from I try to I do. Stoic preparation for resistance. It is inevitable that resistance will come. The Stoics trained for it. Marcus Aurelius began his days by reminding himself that he would meet the busybody, the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful, the envious, and the unsocial. This was not pessimism, it was preparation. If you expect challenges, you are not shocked by them. During your 6 months, expect the following. You will feel tired. You will feel tempted to skip days. You will question whether the change is worth it. You will face criticism from others who are threatened by your growth. The key is not to avoid these moments, but to anticipate them. When they come, you will recognize them not as signs of failure, but as proof that you are in the arena doing the work. The power of small wins. 6 months can feel overwhelming if you focus only on the end goal. The Stoics would advise you to break it into daily victories. Celebrate the days you followed through, even if the progress feels invisible. Remember, nature works in small, consistent steps. Trees grow slowly but become unshakable. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Small wins are the opposite of waste. They are investments in your future self. Each time you show up, you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. The more votes you cast, the harder it becomes to go back to who you were. Shaping your identity. The ultimate goal of your 6 months is not just to achieve external milestones, but to change the way you see yourself. The Stoics knew that identity drives behavior. If you see yourself as someone who is disciplined, resilient, and focused, you will naturally act that way. But identity is not given. It is earned through repeated action. This is why the 6-month frame works so well. By forcing yourself to act in alignment with your desired identity every day, you train your mind to see that identity as truth. At some point, you stop saying, "I am trying to be disciplined," and start saying, "I am disciplined." This shift is subtle but life-changing. The role of reflection. The Stoics did not just act, they reflected. Reflection is where action becomes wisdom. Without it, you risk repeating the same mistakes. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is a masterclass in self-examination. Every night he would review his day where he lived up to his principles and where he fell short. In your own 6-month journey, set aside 10 minutes each night for honest reflection. Ask yourself, did I act according to my values today? What did I do well? Where did I let fear or laziness guide me? How will I improve tomorrow? This habit ensures that you are not just moving, but moving in the right direction. Detachment from immediate results. One of the most dangerous traps in a transformation journey is obsessing over quick results. The Stoics would remind you that you are responsible for your effort, not the outcome. Focus on what is within your control, your actions, your mindset, your persistence. If you judge your progress only by visible results, you will get discouraged when the growth is still underground. Think of a bamboo plant. It spends years developing roots before it shoots upward. Your 6 months might be the season of root building. Trust that the results will come if the foundation is strong. A Stoic vision of the end. Imagine yourself at the end of these 6 months. Picture waking up one morning, looking in the mirror, and recognizing the person staring back at you, not because they look different, but because they carry themselves with a new sense of strength and clarity. You will know that every day you made the choice to show up. You will know that you faced resistance and did not break. You will know that you honored your contract with yourself. The Stoics would say that this is the true reward, not the applause of others, not the external achievements, but the knowledge that you lived intentionally. That is a treasure no one can take from you. If you have listened this far, you already have the seed of discipline inside you. You would not be here otherwise. Now the question is simple. Will you water it for the next 6 months? Or will you let it dry out, waiting for the right time that never comes? Your next 6 months will pass, whether you commit to change or not. The only difference will be the person you are when they are over. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone you care about. Their journey might begin because of your encouragement. And subscribe to stay connected. We are building a community of people who refuse to drift through life. Most people believe that transformation takes years, but that is because they measure progress only by the size of the visible change. They ignore the invisible shift that begins long before the world notices. The Stoics understood that change is not about waiting for the perfect moment or the right mood. It is about beginning where you are with what you have and refusing to stop. 6 months may not make you unrecognizable in the eyes of others, but it can make you unshakable in your own. The real question is, will you use that time to drift or to direct your life with intention? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." 6 months of living by this truth can rewrite the way you see the world. Instead of chasing every opportunity, you begin to choose. Instead of reacting to every insult or setback, you learn to pause. Instead of being led by impulse, you become anchored in reason. That is how the storms around you begin to lose their power, not because the storms fade, but because you no longer sail without a compass. Think about it. If every single day for the next 6 months, you committed to just 3 things, 1 physical, 1 mental, and 1 moral, where would you end up? 6 months of consistent physical discipline could rebuild your body. 6 months of mental focus could sharpen your thoughts into a weapon. 6 months of moral reflection could clear away years of guilt, resentment, and bitterness. It is not magic. It is mathematics. Small daily investments compound into a version of you that once felt unreachable. The problem is, most people expect change to feel dramatic. They want fireworks, not the quiet, steady work of laying bricks. But the Stoic approach teaches that the most important work often feels dull in the moment. It is the choice to wake up early, even when you are tired. It is the decision to turn away from distractions, even when they whisper promises of pleasure. It is the courage to speak truth when silence would be easier. The progress is slow, but slow is not the enemy. Stopping is. There is a Roman story about a soldier who was mocked for training too seriously during peacetime. His peers laughed while he drilled in the rain, his sword heavy with rust. Months later, when battle came, those same men fell unprepared for the chaos. The soldier did not win because he was the strongest or the fastest. He won because he had spent every day preparing for a day he could not yet see. 6 months of training for a single moment of truth, and it was enough. This is the mindset you must adopt. 6 months is not a waiting room where you pass time until life changes. It is a training ground. You do not know when your moment will come, the opportunity, the challenge, the decision that defines you. But when it does, you will either be ready or you will wish you had been. That is the only difference between the ones who rise and the ones who regret. So take stock of yourself. Where do you stand right now? What is the weakness you have tolerated for far too long? What is the dream you have delayed because you tell yourself the timing is not right? 6 months will pass whether you act or not. The question is, will you arrive in the future having built something worth keeping, or will you step into it carrying the same habits, the same excuses, and the same pain? If you have listened this far, chances are you are already tired of waiting for life to improve on its own. You are beginning to understand that the next 6 months will either be an investment or a debt. Take a moment and picture your life half a year from now. Will you be proud of what you did today to get there? Or will you be haunted by the fact that you could have started now but chose not to? Answer that for yourself. And if you find value in this journey, share it with someone who is ready to begin theirs. Remember to subscribe so you do not miss the next lesson, because 6 months from now you might just look back and realize that this was the day everything began. There comes a point in every life when the comfort of drifting becomes unbearable. You wake up and realize that the days are slipping by without your consent. 6 months ago, you told yourself you would change. 6 months from now, you may repeat the same promise again, unless something inside you shifts today. This is not about making a plan you will abandon after the first setback. This is about forging a mind and a body that cannot be shaken no matter what comes. The Stoics did not speak in theories to be admired from a distance. They spoke to prepare you for war, the war within. You cannot afford to live like the battle is far away. It is already here. The distractions that steal your time are not harmless. They are enemy soldiers disguised as friends. Every wasted hour is a territory you will not win back. The weakness you tolerate will eventually command you. This is why 6 months of absolute commitment is not excessive. It is the bare minimum for freedom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." 6 months is nothing in the face of death, but it is everything if you use it to live deliberately. Picture yourself as a craftsman in a dim workshop. Every day you shape the raw material of your mind and your habits. The blows of your hammer are small, but over time, they shape something unrecognizable from what was before. Now imagine throwing down the hammer every time you get tired, distracted, or bored. The sculpture will never be finished. The tragedy is not that you lacked the talent, but that you lacked the discipline to keep working when no one was watching. Let us be brutally honest, the next 6 months will not be easy. Your body will resist. Your mind will rebel. Your friends may tempt you to go back to the old ways because they miss the version of you that made them comfortable. But if you cave to that pressure, you will be telling the world that their approval matters more than your own self-respect. Epictetus warned, if you wish to improve, you must be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Those who dare to live differently will always be mocked by those who do not. But the mockery fades and the results remain. The first stage of this transformation will feel awkward. You will catch yourself falling back into old patterns. You will miss workouts. You will waste hours. You will doubt whether the effort is worth it. But here is the secret: the gap between who you are and who you want to be is closed by repetition, not perfection. The Stoics were not perfect men, they were practiced men. They fell, but they rose quickly. The speed at which you recover from failure matters more than the number of times you stumble. You must also understand that self-control is a muscle. It grows with use. When you resist the urge to speak in anger, you strengthen it. When you choose water over wine, discipline over indulgence, focus over distraction, you strengthen it. 6 months of small victories will make you formidable. And when you are formidable in the small things, you will be unshakable in the big ones. Life will test you in unexpected ways during this period. You might lose money. You might be betrayed. You might face setbacks that feel unfair. This is not the universe trying to break you. It is the universe asking if you are serious. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." The obstacle is not a pause in your training. The obstacle is the training. You must walk into each hardship with the mindset, "Good. This is my chance to prove my philosophy in action." Let us strip away the illusions. You do not need another motivational speech. You do not need a new morning routine or the perfect environment. You need to decide, truly decide, that you will no longer tolerate a version of yourself that makes excuses. Because 6 months of excuses will make you an expert in avoiding change. 6 months of discipline will make you unrecognizable to the person you are now. It is that simple. Think about the last time you saw someone who transformed their life. Perhaps they lost weight, started a business, mastered a skill. You probably told yourself they were lucky, or that they had resources you do not have. But if you could watch their life in detail, you would see that luck played a smaller role than persistence. They simply refused to stop when it got boring, when it got lonely, when it got hard. That is the game. Not speed, not talent, relentless consistency. Here is your challenge. Pick one physical goal, one mental goal, and one moral goal. Physical could be strength, endurance, or health. Mental could be learning a new skill, reading daily, or writing. Moral could be honesty, patience, or courage. Then, for the next 6 months, commit to daily action in all three, no matter how small. You will be tempted to expand your list, but resist it. The mind loves variety, but mastery requires focus. 6 months is short enough to stay committed and long enough to see profound change. There will be days you feel nothing is happening. That is when you must remember that seeds do not sprout overnight. Growth happens in silence under the soil, unseen. One day you will wake up and realize the weight you once carried so heavily is now easy. You will notice that you respond calmly to situations that once triggered you. You will feel lighter, not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. And when that day comes, the people around you will ask, "How did you do it?" And you will smile because they will never see the 1,000 quiet choices you made when no one was paying attention. That is the beauty of real change. It is invisible until it is undeniable. If you have stayed with me to this point, I suspect you are no longer satisfied with drifting. You want to walk into the next 6 months as if your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. So here is my personal request. Do not let this just be another inspiring message that fades when the video ends. Write down the one thing you will do today to begin. Share it in the comments if you wish, not for applause, but for accountability. And if this message has lit even a small fire in you, share it with someone who needs it. 6 months from now, they may thank you for it. And remember to subscribe so you do not miss the next chapter in this journey. There is a silence that comes after the noise of motivation fades. It is the silence of the ordinary day, no cheers, no applause, no obvious progress. This is the moment that breaks most people because it feels like nothing is happening. You begin to question the point of it all. You wonder if the work is worth the sacrifice. This is where the real battle begins, not against the world outside, but against the voice inside that whispers, "Just stop." Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I am going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do?" 6 months of change is not a sprint. It is a steady walk against the current. And every morning you must choose to walk. In this phase, you will feel the weight of repetition. You will wake up to the same discipline, the same habits, the same resistance. The mind will try to bargain with you. Missing one day will not matter, but that is the lie that destroys momentum. Because missing one day does matter, not because of the lost progress, but because of the message it sends to yourself that your commitment is negotiable. The Stoics trained to find beauty in discipline itself, not in the result, not in the recognition, but in the act of showing up. Epictetus compared life to a wrestling match where you never know when the fight will begin. So you must always be ready, always training. Your 6 months is your preparation for a battle that may come at any time, a crisis, a loss, a decision that defines your future. Think about a farmer. He does not plant seeds and then dig them up the next day to check if they are growing. He trusts the process. He waters the soil, removes the weeds, and waits. This is your role now. You are both the farmer and the field. Your habits are the seeds. Your patience is the water. And your discipline is the fence that keeps destruction out. You cannot rush the harvest. You may find that the people around you begin to drift away during this time. At first, they might support you. Then, when your changes begin to highlight their own stagnation, they will distance themselves. This is natural. Seneca reminded us that those who choose a virtuous path will often walk it alone for a while. Loneliness is not a punishment. It is a test of whether your commitment is real or just a performance for others to see. In these quieter months, focus on mastering your emotional response. You will encounter situations that provoke irritation, fear, or frustration. Use them as training. When someone cuts you off in traffic, practice calm. When a project falls apart, practice patience. When you are criticized unfairly, practice humility. 6 months of emotional control will do more for your peace than any amount of physical or material achievement. Remember, the greatest victories happen in private. No one will see you choose water over wine, silence over anger, action over excuses. No one will notice when you resist the temptation to waste your evening on distractions. But these are the moments that build your strength. And when life tests you publicly, the work you did privately will be the reason you stand unshaken. If you have listened this far, you are already ahead of most. Because most people quit when the work becomes quiet. They confuse stillness with stagnation. But the Stoic knows that stillness is where depth is formed. So I ask you now, will you keep walking even when no one is watching, even when nothing seems to be changing? Or will you turn back to the life you once said you were done with? The choice, as always, is yours. There is something you need to hear, and I am not going to soften it. If you are going to commit to these 6 months, you must stop lying to yourself. Stop saying you do not have time. Stop pretending that your distractions are harmless. Stop telling yourself you will start when things calm down. The truth is, life will never calm down for you to change. It will only get louder. That is why this has to happen now. You already know what it feels like to live in cycles. You start something, you get excited, you push for a few weeks, and then you slip. You convince yourself you will restart next Monday, next month, next year. But every restart is harder than the last, because each time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken the trust you have in your own word. And without that trust, you cannot build anything. 6 months from now, you can be in the same place again, or you can be in a place you do not even recognize. The choice is yours, but the clock is already running. The Stoics would tell you that the future is built in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius did not wait for inspiration to strike before acting. He reminded himself, do not act as if you are going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Replace be good with whatever your mission is. Be disciplined, be courageous, be focused, and you will understand the urgency. Let us be clear, these 6 months will not be about feeling good. They will be about doing what is necessary, even when you feel nothing. That is the only way to change deeply. Feelings are unreliable. They rise and fall like the tide. If you build your life on them, you will be carried away. But if you build on principle, the unshakable decision to act with reason, you will stand like a rock in the ocean. I want you to imagine something. It is the final day of your 6 months. You wake up and there is no dramatic music, no crowd to applaud you, but you feel it. You feel the quiet pride of knowing you showed up for yourself every single day. You stand in front of a mirror and see not just a different body or a different face, but a different person. Someone you can rely on, someone you respect. That is worth more than anything you could buy. Now I need you to face a truth that most people avoid. The people around you may not understand this journey. Some will question you. Some will even try to pull you back, not because they want to harm you, but because your growth threatens the comfort of their stagnation. They liked you better when you were predictable, when you joined them in wasting time. They do not know how to relate to the version of you who wakes up earlier, works harder, and complains less. You must be willing to lose their approval. Epictetus warned that the road to improvement is lonely at times. He said, if you wish to improve, you must be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That is the cost. And it is worth paying because the reward is freedom from the chains of other people's opinions. These 6 months will teach you that your worth does not depend on applause. You will also learn that not every day will be equal in output, and that is fine. Some days you will make great strides forward. Others you will barely hold the line. The point is not perfection. The point is persistence. Seneca said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." These 6 months will not erase difficulty, but they will make you fearless in facing it. During this time, you must guard your mind with the same intensity that a soldier guards his weapon. Every thought you dwell on is shaping you. If you let in self-pity, it will grow roots. If you dwell on anger, it will poison your focus. Marcus Aurelius advised to be like the promontory against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. This is your task: to stand firm in the face of the waves, not to wish they would disappear. Let me tell you about a man I knew. He decided to change his life in 6 months. At first, he went all in early morning, strict discipline, constant learning, but halfway through he hit a wall. Work became stressful. His friends started drifting away. He felt the loneliness creep in. He considered quitting, telling himself he could always start again later. But he remembered a simple truth. If he stopped now, he would still face the same problems later, only with less strength to handle them. So he kept going. By the end, nothing in his life was perfect, but everything was better because he was better. You will face the same wall. Everyone does, and the only way past it is through it. When you feel tired, you keep going. When you feel uninspired, you keep going. When no one notices or cares, you keep going. Because this is not about impressing others. It is about becoming someone you refuse to disappoint. In the quiet hours when doubt speaks the loudest, remember why you began. Remember the feeling of frustration that made you say, "Enough." Remember the version of yourself you are leaving behind. 6 months is not a lifetime, but it is long enough to build a foundation that will last a lifetime. Every rep in the gym, every page you read, every time you choose action over comfort, these are bricks in that foundation. If you have listened this far, it is because a part of you already knows that drifting is no longer an option. You know that the life you want will not arrive by accident. So I am asking you to commit fully without hesitation. Write down your goals. Make a plan that does not depend on motivation. Remove the distractions you already know are holding you back. And start today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. If this message has reached you at the right moment, I ask you to do 2 things. First, take a quiet minute to picture the life you could build in 6 months if you acted with relentless consistency. Second, take one action, however small, before the day ends that moves you toward that life. Share your intention in the comments if you want accountability. And if this has helped you, pass it on to someone who needs it. You never know, 6 months from now, they may thank you for it. There is an old Roman story about a stonemason who worked on the same block of marble for 6 months. Day after day, he chipped away at the cold surface. To the townspeople passing by, it looked like nothing was happening. The block remained the same size. Its shape seemed unchanged. Some laughed at him, whispering that he was wasting his time, but the mason ignored them. One morning, without ceremony, he stepped back, and the form of a powerful lion emerged from the stone, perfect in every detail. The people were astonished, but the mason only said, "The lion was always there. I just removed what did not belong." This is your journey. The strength, the discipline, the clarity you want, they are already within you. The next 6 months are about removing what does not belong. Every wasted hour you cut away, every bad habit you chisel off, every lie you tell yourself that you grind into dust. The world may not notice for a while, but when the form emerges, they will call it sudden. You will know it was anything but sudden. In our time, the same principle applies. Think about the person who disappears from the noise for half a year. They stop posting meaningless updates. They spend less time on the phone, more time in silence. Their friends might think they are fading away, but in reality, they are sharpening themselves like a blade in the dark. Then one day, they return healthier, more focused, more confident. Everyone wonders what happened. The answer is simple: 6 months of unseen work. The Stoics understood that most of life's victories are won out of sight. Marcus Aurelius did not write his meditations for others to read. He wrote them as reminders to himself in the privacy of his own mind. The real transformation happens when no one is watching, when the only witness to your effort is you. That is why it matters so much to keep going even when the world is silent. But here is the truth. The silence will test you. When the results are not yet visible, you will be tempted to break your own rules. You will think, one skipped workout will not matter, or one night of distraction will not hurt. And maybe once will not. But once is the seed of habit, and habit is the architect of your future. If you give in every time it feels harmless, you will find yourself back at the beginning before you even realize it. 6 months is long enough for the mind to play tricks on you. Some days you will feel unstoppable. Others you will question everything. That is normal. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." This is the part of the journey where patience must be your ally. Not the passive patience of waiting for things to happen, but the active patience of showing up and doing the work, even without reward. To stay the course, you must remember why you started. Think back to the moment you decided you were done drifting. Maybe it was a day when you looked in the mirror and hated what you saw. Maybe it was a night when you realized you were wasting years on things that did not matter. That moment of clarity was a gift. 6 months of disciplined action is how you honor that gift. I want you to picture your life if you truly followed through this time. Imagine your body stronger, your mind sharper, your habits cleaner. Imagine being able to face stress without panic criticism, without anger, temptation, without surrender. Imagine walking into any room knowing that you can rely on yourself completely. That is not a fantasy. That is what 6 months of focused effort can give you. If you have followed me this far, it means you are not interested in half measures. You are here because you want to see what happens when you give everything you have for half a year. And I am telling you what happens is more than change. It is rebirth. 6 months from now, you can be someone entirely different, not because the world changed, but because you did. If this has reached you at the right time, do something with it. Do not just nod along. Write down the habits you are going to cut away. Write down the ones you are going to build. And then start chipping at the stone day after day without fail. Because the lion is already there, it is waiting for you to set it free. If you have listened this far, you are serious. So take the next step. Share in the comments the first piece of stone you are going to remove from your life. It might inspire someone else to begin. And if this message has value to you, pass it on. 6 months from now, you may be the reason someone else stands stronger. Remember to subscribe so you do not miss the next stage of this journey. There is a question you must face before anything else. What will your life look like if you waste the next 6 months? Not in some vague, far-off sense. I mean in detail. Picture yourself in the exact same place you are now. Same frustration, same fatigue, same quiet disappointment when you realize another half year has passed and nothing is different. You tell yourself you still have time, but deep down you know the truth. The time you waste is the time you will never get back. 6 months is short enough for you to lie to yourself and think it does not matter. But it is also long enough to destroy the momentum of an entire year. Think about what happens when you drift for half a year. The habits you have now will deepen their roots. The weaknesses you tolerate will grow stronger. And the regret will not just be about lost time, it will be about the person you could have become, but never did. Marcus Aurelius warned himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. You think you have years ahead of you, but the truth is, you do not know. None of us do. Every day you delay, you gamble with the only resource you cannot replace. If you do nothing for the next 6 months, here is what will happen. You will face the same problems you face now, only with less strength to deal with them. Your body will weaken. Your focus will blur. Your tolerance for mediocrity will grow until it feels normal. You will stop believing that real change is possible because you will have trained yourself to quit before you start. It will not happen suddenly. It will happen quietly. You will stop noticing how much time you spend on meaningless things. You will tell yourself you deserve just one more lazy evening, one more indulgence, one more escape. And by the time you realize what you have lost, it will feel too heavy to start again. This is how people wake up in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and wonder where their life went. The Stoics knew this danger well. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Wasting 6 months is not just losing half a year, it is training yourself in the habit of waste. And that habit does not end on its own. It ends only when you decide you are finished with it. I want you to think about someone you once admired, someone who seemed unstoppable, but who let their discipline fade. Maybe it was an athlete, an artist, or someone in your own family. You watched them lose their edge. It did not happen overnight. It was a slow erosion. They got comfortable. They let themselves slide, and once that slide began, it was almost impossible to reverse. That is the danger you face if you decide these next 6 months do not matter. Now let us talk about what you risk losing if you waste this time. You risk the version of yourself who is stronger, sharper, and more resilient. You risk the peace that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. You risk the respect of others, but more importantly, your own self-respect. Once you lose that, every achievement feels hollow. And here is the part that should terrify you. No one will come to save you from this drift. No mentor, no friend, no sudden stroke of luck will appear to pull you out. If you waste the next 6 months, you will simply arrive in the future with the same problems, only older, and with less energy to fix them. The weight will get heavier, not lighter. This is why urgency matters. The Stoics spoke often about death not to depress themselves, but to sharpen their focus. When you understand that your time is limited, you stop treating your days like an infinite supply. You start seeing each one as a coin you can spend only once. Will you spend the next 180 coins buying distractions, or will you buy the life you say you want? I know what some of you are thinking, but 6 months is a long time. I am afraid I will burn out. Burnout does not come from consistent, purposeful effort. Burnout comes from living in conflict with yourself, saying you want one thing but doing another. When your actions match your values, the work energizes you. When they do not, it drains you even if you are doing less. There is also the danger of believing you will start tomorrow. Tomorrow is the most dangerous word in the language of the undisciplined. It keeps you comfortable today while quietly stealing all your future possibilities. If you want proof, look back at the last time you told yourself you would start tomorrow. How many tomorrows have passed since then? Let me give you a picture. Imagine 2 people starting today. One commits to 6 months of disciplined, steady, consistent effort. The other tells themselves they will start when things are better. In half a year, the first person has built strength, confidence, and momentum. The second person is still waiting for conditions to improve, still telling the same stories, still living in the same frustrations. The gap between them is now enormous, and it all began with a single decision. So here is the question. When you arrive at the end of these 6 months, will you wish you had started today? If the answer is yes, then you already know what to do. The choice is brutally simple. If you use the next 6 months, you will gain more than you can imagine. If you waste them, you will lose more than you realize. You cannot get these days back. Once they are gone forever. If you have listened to me this far, I know you are capable of more than drifting. I know you are tired of repeating the same cycles. So I am asking you not as a voice in a video, but as someone who has seen what happens when people let time slip away. Take this seriously. Make a plan today. Commit to it without compromise. And when you feel like quitting, remember this moment and the promise you made to yourself. If this has struck something in you, do not let the feeling fade. Write down the one change you will make before the day ends. Share it in the comments if you want accountability. And if you know someone who is wasting their time, share this with them. You might be the one who helps them take their first step. And as always, subscribe so you do not miss the final stages of this journey. There comes a point in every journey where hesitation is no longer an option. You have been told the truth. You know the stakes. You have seen what happens when time is wasted, and you have tasted the vision of who you could become. Now the question is simple. Will you step forward or will you step back into the shadows where nothing changes? 6 months may not seem like much, but it is enough to rebuild a life. It is enough to turn a drifting mind into a focused one. It is enough to strengthen a weak body, to heal a tired spirit, to break the chains of bad habits and replace them with ones that make you unshakable. But here is the catch. Every day you hesitate, the road gets steeper. The starting point moves farther away. And one day you will look back and realize that the window you thought was always open has closed. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That is the formula. Clarity of who you want to be, followed by relentless action. Not occasional bursts of effort when you feel motivated, but a steady march day after day, no matter the mood, no matter the weather, no matter the circumstances. Because circumstances will always give you an excuse to stop. If you are waiting for perfect conditions, you will wait until the end of your life. I want you to picture your ideal self 6 months from now. What does that person look like? How do they speak? How do they carry themselves? How do they react to stress, to conflict, to temptation? See that person clearly in your mind. Now understand this: every choice you make between now and then will either bring you closer to them or push you farther away. There is no neutral ground. Every action is a vote for the person you are becoming. And yes, this will be hard. The world will not applaud you for choosing the disciplined path. Your friends may not understand. You may even lose people along the way, not because you abandoned them, but because you refuse to stay in the same patterns they are comfortable with. Seneca warned that when you begin to live differently, those who cling to their old ways will see it as a judgment on them. That is their burden, not yours. There will be mornings when your bed feels like the safest place in the world, and the thought of facing your responsibilities feels like too much. There will be days when your progress feels invisible, when it seems like all your effort is for nothing. This is where most people quit, but this is also where the transformation happens. The Stoics did not measure strength by how much you could do. When you felt good, they measured it by how much you could do. When you felt nothing at all, you must decide here and now that the discomfort is not your enemy. The discomfort is the proof that you are breaking through old limits. The soreness in your body, the hunger to give up, the mental resistance, these are signs that you are moving in the right direction. When you feel them, smile, because they mean you are still in the fight. 6 months from now, you will have 2 stories you can tell. One will be the story of excuses, of half-hearted attempts, of giving in to the pull of comfort. That story will not inspire you. It will only make you wonder what might have been. The other story will be the story of discipline, of days you pushed through, of victories so small they almost seemed invisible until they became unstoppable momentum. That story will give you pride that no one can take away. Which story will you tell? Let me give you a truth that is as brutal as it is liberating. No one cares about your potential. Potential is just unused energy. The world respects results, and results only come from consistent action. You can talk about who you could be for the rest of your life, but unless you do the work, it means nothing. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Do not overcomplicate this. You do not need to map out the next 10 years. You do not need to see the entire staircase. You only need to see the next step and take it with absolute commitment. Then take the next one and the next one. 6 months from now, those steps will add up to something extraordinary, but only if you start walking now. Here is your rallying cry. Stop asking for permission to change. Stop waiting for a sign. Stop hoping that someone else will give you the courage you already have inside you. The courage is there. It has been there all along. You just have to use it. For the next 6 months, live with the clarity of a soldier on a mission. Every day, wake up and remind yourself why you are doing this. Keep your vision in front of you at all times. When the distractions come, and they will ask yourself if they are worth trading for your future, most of them are not. The clock is ticking, not in some abstract poetic sense literally. Right now, this exact second, your future is being decided by the choice you make. 6 months from now, you will be living in the world those choices created. Make sure it is a world worth living in. If you have been with me through this journey, you already know that I am not here to entertain you. I am here to push you to take the step you have been avoiding. If you have listened this far, it means a part of you is ready. So prove it not to me, not to anyone else, but to yourself. Write down your commitment. Share it in the comments if you want the accountability. And if you know someone who is standing at the edge of their own change, send this to them. Be the reason they take the leap. And if you want to see this transformation through to the very end, subscribe, because in the next part, we close this chapter with the most important lesson of all. There is a moment at the end of every journey where the road falls silent. The noise of daily struggles fades, and you are left standing with one thing yourself. Not the person you once were, but the person you have become. 6 months of choices, sacrifices, and perseverance have brought you here. And now looking back, you can see that the mountain was never just in front of you. It was inside you all along. If you have truly given yourself to this process, something has changed in you that cannot be undone. You have learned the truth that Marcus Aurelius knew in his bones, that life is shaped not by what happens to us, but by how we choose to respond. You have learned, like Epictetus, that freedom does not come from avoiding difficulty, but from mastering yourself in the middle of it. And you have felt, as Seneca wrote, that it is not that we have too little time, but that we waste so much of it. Think back to the first day. Remember the uncertainty, the quiet doubt, the questions that whispered, "Can I really do this?" Those doubts have been replaced by something else now, not arrogance, but a steady confidence that comes from evidence. You have seen what happens when you take responsibility for your life. You have seen the power of small, deliberate actions compounded over time, and you have seen that you are capable of more than you ever thought possible. The 6 months you committed to were never about some magical transformation that happens on a calendar date. They were about proving to yourself that you can decide who you will be and live that decision every single day. That is what the Stoics understood. They did not sit around waiting for perfect opportunities or inspiration. They acted. They acted when it was uncomfortable. They acted when it was inconvenient. They acted when there was no applause, when there was no one to notice, when there was nothing but their own standard to live up to. You have felt that now. You know the weight and the worth of self-discipline. You know that freedom does not come from avoiding the hard path, but from walking it until your legs are strong enough to carry you anywhere. And here is the truth you must carry forward. This is not the end. This is the proving ground. These 6 months have been the training for a much longer journey, the rest of your life. The temptation will be to think, "I made it. I can relax now," but life is not a summit you reach and then stay at forever. It is a series of peaks and valleys. The habits you built, the resilience you forged, the clarity you found, they must be renewed every single day. There will still be setbacks. There will still be moments when you want to quit. There will still be days when you wonder if you have lost your edge. When those days come, remember this: you already walked through fire and you are still here. You have endured discomfort, fought through resistance, and chosen the harder road when the easier one was calling your name. That strength is still with you, even if it feels buried. If you ever doubt it, go back to the basics. Wake up. Decide who you want to be today, and act in alignment with that choice. That is all you ever need to do. And remember, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The 6-month journey was never about becoming invincible. It was about becoming unshakable in your purpose. Now you must take that purpose into every area of your life, your work, your relationships, your health, your thoughts. Let every decision be filtered through the question, does this serve the person I am becoming? If the answer is no, have the courage to walk away. And if you have stumbled along the way, if your 6 months were messy, inconsistent, full of failures, take heart. The fact that you are still here, still listening, still trying means you have not given up. And that is what matters. The Stoics never demanded perfection. They demanded persistence. You are allowed to start again as many times as it takes, as long as you do not quit. So here is my final challenge to you. Do not let this be the last chapter. Take everything you have learned and give yourself another 6 months. Not because you failed, but because growth is a lifelong commitment. Set a higher standard. Push for deeper change. Aim for a goal so bold it scares you. Then show up every day and chip away at it. You will be amazed at what you can build when you refuse to stop. And finally, a personal word. If you have listened this far, it means you are serious about your life. You are not content to drift. You have chosen to face yourself honestly and do the work. That puts you in rare company. Most people never get here. So stand tall in that. Be proud, but stay humble. Keep moving, keep growing, keep choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. If you found these 6 months meaningful, share your story. Share it in the comments. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. You never know, your courage could be the spark that lights another person's fire. And if you want to continue this journey together, subscribe, because the road does not end here. There is always more to learn, more to do, and more to become. Your 6 months begin again today. Make them count.
If this message stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Write one thing down that you'll start doing this week. 2025 doesn't magically change anything you do. And your future begins the moment you decide to move, even just a little.